Hi everybody. This is the second part two of my testimony of me surviving COVID-19. Um, I left off at me while I was unconscious. I was in the dream state or whatever it was, and my wife had taken a second husband, and he was starting to get jealous of me getting attention. But I'm gonna jump out of that real quick, and I'm gonna talk about what was happening in real life while I was unconscious. So when I came in, COVID was still pretty new. You know, the doctors, from what they told me, they weren't really prepared to deal with it. There was no protocol. There was no set approach to dealing with it. It was just you get the patients in and you figure it out. They basically figure it out. They had trial drugs and things like that, experimental drugs, um, and things that they thought would help, but there was no direct approach to COVID-19. So um, I think I went over it when I say my lungs were filling with fluid, and I was going septic, and the whole putting me on dialysis thing. Well, so my wife was calling up there, and they told her, they said, they were bringing in a machine to turn me, um, but they didn't know if it would be there in time, so they were turning me themselves. It was like six of them coming in. She said, from what the nurse told my wife, she said it was taking like six of them to flip me over. They were, I went in there, I was like 285. Um, they they were flipping me. Like I said, they took care of me while I was in there. Just that they showed a lot of love in there. They really cared, and it really meant a lot to me. But they were because the thing was, so many people were dying that went on the ventilator, and again, like, they're telling me this stuff after the fact. So many people were dying, they were getting discouraged because when the COVID patient coming in, they're dying on the ventilator, and they're like, well, if and then and what was said was, if you had serious pre-existing health conditions, there was a good chance you weren't going to survive the ventilator. One nurse even told me, said they had a saying: if you go on the ventilator, you don't go off the ventilator. So just about everybody that was getting on the ventilator prior to me were dying in the hospital. So when I came in, one nurse, she told me, she said, when they said, well, this one doesn't have any serious health conditions, and they were like, this is the one. This is the one that has to live. This is the one that has to survive. They was like, because they felt like, what are they doing all this work for? I see a lot of people with conspiracy theories, and they're like, oh, the nurses the nurses don't deserve this. They're just doing their job. Man, what I went through in there, for what I saw, man, you better not never say anything about a nurse or the people in the medical field. What they were doing there for me and what they had to do. I wanted to go into medicine after this. I wanted to, like, get into the medical field after this. But some of the stuff they was doing for me, there's no way I'm doing that. I'm not. I'm like, my hat's off to them. There's no way I'm doing that. But I'll explain later. But anyway, so maybe about 11 days in, um, they because my wife's calling every day. She's calling, getting updates on me. She's calling to get through, and she's like, she was told me, she said the days where she called and they told me I was doing okay were okay days for her. She could get through the day okay. She said, but the days they told her the days she couldn't get through, as long as she could talk to somebody and know that I was, like, still in there, she was okay. But when she couldn't get through, because it was she had to basically keep calling, but they weren't prepared, they weren't staffed for what was how this COVID hit, and they were like, it was like all hands on deck, basically. So when it was like that and they were running back and forth, nobody could answer the phones. So she said those were her bad days. Well, about 10, 11 days in, they call, my wife calls, and then they call my wife, and they told her that there's a good chance I might not make it, and she needs to prepare herself for my death. And the whoever it was went on to ask her questions about how many brothers I have and this, and she was like, she basically like was blanking out, like, like this can't be real, and she's telling her, she's like, he can't die, like, because they were saying they might have to take me off the ventilator because I've been on there too long, and they was like, they didn't know if I was coming out of this. So she was telling them, like, we just bought this house. He got 2 kids, She was just like basically pleading with her, like, not to take me off the ventilator. So she just told her, like, to prepare herself, because what was happening to me was the COVID. I thought it was just like I believe most people believe it's just something to attack your respiratory system, and it doesn't. It was also trying to shut down my heart and my kidneys all at the same time. So that's why they told her that, because they didn't know, because they said I had been fighting, been hanging in there. And they're like, the COVID was just continuing to be aggressive, but I was hanging in there. My body was fighting it off and not allowing it to shut down my organs. And they would like, and to them, they were just like, how long can his body keep this up? How long before it gives in to this COVID? So that's why they called, and to tell her to prepare herself, because they didn't want to catch her off guard. I don't know why they do that. I mean, I don't know which one worse, getting a call and saying he did, or getting a call that he might die. But you know what? Getting the call, because that's probably what saved my life. I know it did. So what happened was, she said she shut down for 3 days. She was in, she was in there crying. She wouldn't get out. The only thing she said she got to bed for was to pee, or to go use the bathroom. My daughter had to like make her food to eat, ramen noodles, and bringing her water and stuff to drink. Whatever her cousin Celia was dropping off groceries on the porch for him. She was just like, she was just done. And she said like 3 days, but she said after 3 days she had got up. I know that's not a coincidence, because she said she can't accept this. So now I had given her the password to my phone, my tablets, but technology, my wife is not good with. I don't care how many times I tell her this stuff, she forgets it like that, or she just doesn't care to remember. That's how she does it. She basically doesn't care about technology or how to use it. You get her these fancy phones, and she doesn't know how to use them. She uses the basic of things, on them. And I'm like, what's the point? So what she did was, she was like, she got to get in contact with my friends, That's the reason I surround myself with men and women of God. That's the reason, I'm like, the closest people to me are men and women of God. Because in times like that, you need people that's going to pray. I know it's people that ain't really tight with God that was praying for me. I appreciate it. But it ain't nothing like people that know the Lord, that can reach them gates of heaven. And that's what she knew. So what she did was, she went and grabbed my tablets, and she tried to get into my contacts and to get in touch with my Facebook friends, but she didn't remember my password. So she sat there until she figured it out, how to get in. Then I had this new tablet that I bought just to do ministry videos. I don't even remember putting Facebook on there, but it was on there, and I was logged in, because like I said, it was new. And she went in there, and she started she went, and my contacts was there because I signed in Gmail. So she started calling some of my friends and telling them to pray for me One of them, my sister Tori, she got to call to her. She could said Tori was screaming her to call it because she's like, she didn't know who it was, but so she kept. My wife just kept calling her to until she got through and had her to pray. She called some other folk. Then she went and got on Facebook. That's when she went on Facebook and she went to tell people she got in my Christian clan. That was funny. I never thought she would have turned to the Christian clan I was in. It's a Christian gamer clan that I'm in. Christian Gamers of Destiny, stand up. She went in and she started letting them know too. And Kevin Kennedy, JT told me they reached out to my wife and they were praying with her. And then, my mother, I don't know why she didn't call my mother, but she ended up seeing on Facebook, my family started going nuts and they calling her and it turned this big thing. But man, like so many people came through. It was like, man, it was so much. When I found out she was just telling me about all the people that came out, man, to pray for me. Cause like when I went in there, man, during that time, I even posted, I was kind of done with ministry and the whole thing. It was like, I was just tired. I was burnt out. I was just like, the frustrations of it. And, and I even told my wife, I said, God called me home. He called me home. This was me prior to me going to the hospital. I was like, I'm tired. She's like, you got kids and this and this. You can't say stuff like that. I said, I'm tired. I'm tired of this world. I'm tired of this life. It didn't matter to me. I said, I'm going to serve. I'm going to do what I got to do while I'm here. But I'm tired. And that was my mentality coming in. And that's where the prayer came in and was so necessary because going back into the dream, me being unconscious, the whole dream state thing, that's where the prayer came in. The after skipping, the whole thing with my wife and the second husband went to another one. It's the last one. It was some in between. They were stuff, like I said, I don't even want to get into them. Some of them were like disturbing, and I'm like, I don't even want to even get into it. But the last one, I was living in a house. I think me and my wife had separated, and I was living in the house with some relatives and some other people. It was all older people, and one of the ladies had liked me. She was like old, and she had, and they were telling me, she liked you, and it's like I didn't think anything of it. I'm in the house, I'm minding my own business, and then I guess my wife came and moved in because she was trying to reconcile with me, and somehow or another, I get stabbed in the back, literally stabbed in the back. I didn't know if my wife did it. I didn't know if the older lady was jealous because had did it, but that my wife, me and her were reconciled. I didn't know, but nobody was around, and I was crawling, and I was like begging for help. I was like, and I had some money. I was like, somebody please help me. I said, I got $5,000 downstairs in the basement. I said, whoever help me, you can have it. Just somebody please help me. And then again, and so I'm crawling. And it was like a section of the house that caved in. And I was trying to crawl, and I was like, how am I going to get through this debris to get to help? And I'm crawling, and that voice came again. It said, just give up and die. Just give up just let go and die. Just let go and die. And I was like, no. I said, no, I'm going to believe Jesus to the end. And right after I said that, my wife lifted up the section of the house that had collapsed, and she reached out her hand and pulled me out. And when she pulled me out, I woke up in the hospital. They were in the midst, I was like in the air. They were in the midst of like turning me over or something. I think I bust out crying because it was like, what's going on, And that's when I woke up. But that's the thing. But that's the reason I have to thank. I know a lot of y'all prayed for me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thank y'all because prayers is what stopped me from giving up. God told me, he said, after I woke up, he said that voice you were hearing was death. It was death trying to make you give up. Death couldn't take me because I've been bought by the blood. It couldn't just take me. That's the reason I don't be in chicks DM. That's the reason I try to I try to live a holy lifestyle because you don't know. You don't know. If anybody had told me that when I went into that hospital that there was a chance I wasn't coming out, I'm like, you crazy. Not me. I was like, God got too much need of me for me to be checking out of here. There's too many things he want me to do because I was ready to go and he told me no. So I was like, there's no way. You know, that's just my mind. So I'm like, I'm going to go in here. They're going to treat me and I'm going to get out of here. But that's what happened. And I was so weak spiritually because the frustrations beforehand that if people weren't praying for me, I would have let go. I'd have just gave up. You know, in those times. It was hard. Because I know that conviction, the strength, the tenacity when I spoke and said, no, I'm going to believe Jesus to the end. Like, that's not me. I'm like, no, okay, well, Lord, I'd have been saying my prayers like, okay, God, I guess it's time for me to go home. But the prayers would not allow me to give up, man. I'm so thankful. I'm over my time. I apologize. I'm going to try to get part 3 out soon. Keep praying for me, man. This ain't fun, you know. I'm still going through it. It's like, you know, I'm good. I'm just not. Things aren't going like with my recovery like I would like it to. So, just keep praying for me. I thank y'all for watching. Bless y'all. Amen.